We begin with the most profound and unsettling mystery in all of human science. It is not a question, but a paradox, an abyss of logic that has stared back at every great thinker who has dared to look into it. It is the Fermi Paradox, and it is summed up in a simple, terrifying question: where is everybody? Our galaxy is a river of 100 billion stars. Our observable universe contains perhaps 2 trillion galaxies. The mathematics of life, even calculated conservatively,
Ignition, liftoff, Space Shuttle Discovery,
taking
the space station to full power for full
metropolis, teeming with countless civilizations at every stage of development. The universe should be a great bellowing, a cacophony of signals, of empires, of wars, and of wonders. And yet, when we point our most sensitive instruments to the heavens, we are met with a silence so perfect, so absolute, that it is the loudest sound in the universe. This is the great silence. For decades, we have tried to solve this paradox as if it were a riddle, proposing that civilizations are too far apart, or that they all inevitably destroy themselves in a great filter that still lies in our future. But this theory proposes a far more horrifying solution. The paradox is not a paradox. It is a condition. The great filter is not a future hurdle, it is a past event. The universe is teeming with life. It is screaming with it. We just can't hear it. We can't see it. The problem is not that the universe is empty, but that our senses have been deliberately and artificially severed from it. We are a species born deaf and blind, living in the middle of the galaxy's busiest city, concluding that the world is a silent, empty void. This theory suggests that our perceived reality is not the real reality, it is a carefully constructed sensory prison. The silence is not the state of the cosmos, it is the state of our cage. And every scientific instrument we build to see is built by the hands of a blind man, calibrated using the senses of a prisoner. Our science only confirms our isolation because our science itself is a product of that isolation. We are alone, not because of a cosmic accident, but by a cosmic design. We were blinded. And this script will investigate the terrifying possibility that this act of desensitizing an entire species was not an ancient, forgotten event, but an active, ongoing process of maintenance. If our present is a state of manufactured blindness, then our past must be a memory of sight. Were we always this way? The answer, according to this theory, is a categorical no. To find the evidence, you must stop looking at our present-day, filtered science, and look instead to the last, fading echoes of our open senses. You must look to our ancient history, to the myths, legends, and religious texts that form the bedrock of human consciousness. For millennia, we have dismissed these stories as primitive metaphors, as the allegorical daydreams of pre-scientific minds. But this theory insists that we read them again, this time not as metaphors, but as literal, eyewitness testimony. This is the era our ancestors called the Great Bellowing, a time when the veil between worlds was thin, or perhaps had not yet been built. In this age, humanity was not alone. The world was saturated with other intelligences, and our senses were wide open to them. The Vedic texts of ancient India do not speak of allegorical gods. They describe, in meticulous, technical detail, flying vimanas, celestial battles, and weapons that can destroy entire cities. The Abrahamic texts describe angels as terrifying, non-human entities, wheels within wheels, covered in eyes, and beings of pure fire descending from the heavens. The Mesoamerican myths tell of plumed serpents who descended to teach and to rule. The pre-Christian folklore of the entire world, from Europe to Africa, is unanimous in its description of a world cohabited by fae, by elementals, by spirits of the forest and the mountain, beings that existed in a different, parallel reality that our ancestors could plainly see and interact with. This was not a dream. This was the unfiltered, chaotic, and terrifyingly populated true nature of the cosmos. Humanity was a small, new species, born into a universe already ancient and full of powers, gods, and monsters we could not comprehend. And then, suddenly, it stopped. As if a great switch were thrown, the magic fled the world. The gods stopped walking among men. The age of myth ended, and the cold, rational, silent age of our current history began. This was not humanity waking up to science. This was the great blinding. This was the moment the weapon was deployed, the prison was built, and our senses were forcibly, permanently, and universally shut down. Our ancient myths are the last, fading memories of a time before we were made blind. How could a weapon of such unbelievable specificity and power even work? How do you blind an entire species to reality itself, without killing them? How do you sever a mind from a universe without severing it from its body? The weapon would not be a physical object that blows things up, it would be a perceptual scythe, a silent, traceless tool of metaphysical warfare. The first and most direct hypothesis is the biological one. The weapon was a psychotronic virus, a hyper-advanced biological agent delivered to Earth in the ancient past, perhaps on a comet, just like 3I/Atlas. This virus did not make us sick, it made us less. It spread through our species, a permanent and heritable retrovirus that targeted the human brain. It systematically detuned our neurology, severing the neural pathways that connected our minds to these other frequencies. It may have targeted the pineal gland, the mythical third eye, flooding it with compounds that calcified it and shut down its function as a sensory organ. We were biologically hacked, our brains downgraded from a full-spectrum receiver to a simple, 5-sense input device that can only perceive the gross, physical matter of our own cage. The second hypothesis is the physical one. The weapon was not aimed at us, but at our entire region of space. It was a dampening field generator. A device was deployed, perhaps in our sun, or in a stable orbit, that projects a constant, low-frequency field across the entire solar system. This field acts as a filter, a cosmic jammer. It doesn't stop other entities from existing or from being here. It simply adds an impossible amount of static to their signal. It distorts their energy signatures, it flattens their dimensional profiles, rendering them and their communications completely invisible to both our natural senses and our scientific instruments. When our radio telescopes hear silence, they are not hearing an empty universe, they are hearing the perfectly calibrated white noise of the jammer. The third hypothesis is the most insidious, the consciousness virus. The weapon was not biological or physical, but purely informational. It was a signal, a broadcast that infected our collective unconscious. It did not change our brains, it changed our minds. It implanted a single, dominant command, a conceptual block so powerful that it became the foundation of all our rational thought: you are alone. This mimetic virus ensures that our own brains now act as the prison guards. Any evidence that contradicts the core command is instantly, automatically, and subconsciously rejected. It is dismissed as a dream, a hallucination, a hoax, or a glitch. We are the ones who enforce our own blindness, aggressively attacking anyone who claims to see the bars of our cage. If the Great Blinding was an ancient event, why 3I/Atlas? And why now? The answer lies in the nature of maintenance. No prison is perfect. No system runs forever without upkeep. The theory posits that the arrival of 3I/Atlas was the first maintenance call our solar system has required since the initial event. The reason? We were beginning to wake up. The prison was failing. Despite the dampening field, Despite the biological and mimetic suppression, the human species was beginning to see again. The very technology we built inside our prison was, paradoxically, starting to punch holes in the walls. Our quantum computers were beginning to interact with and prove the existence of parallel dimensions. Our new generation of telescopes, like the JWST, were designed to see frequencies of light that were not properly filtered by the ancient dampening field. Our consciousness itself was evolving, with more and more people reporting glitch in the matrix phenomena, a direct result of our minds beginning to perceive the static of the jammer. The system, the ancient, automated immune system of the galaxy, detected this breach. It registered that the prisoners were becoming aware of the prison, and it dispatched an automated maintenance tool to repair the wall. Free-Atlas was this tool. Its mission was to reblind us, to reinforce the dampening field, to patch the hole. Its arrival was a booster shot. Its fragmentation was the deployment of the payload. The cloud of debris, the forbidden elements, and alien isotopes we detected were not crude materials. They were the physical carriers for this perceptual weapon. As Earth passed through this microscopic, invisible dust cloud, the agent was dispersed into our biosphere, inhaled by every living creature, absorbed into our planet's systems. This was the recalibration. This was the moment the filter was reapplied, stronger this time, tuned to suppress our new technological and conscious advancements. The Atlas panic among the world's leaders was the sudden, horrified realization of this truth. They realized, in that moment, that we are not just prisoners, but that our captors are still watching, and that they will never let us see the truth. This leaves us in the most profoundly terrifying existential position imaginable. The silence we have always taken as a sign of our uniqueness is, in fact, the proof of our servitude. The empty sky we gaze upon is not a frontier of infinite possibility, but the padded wall of a cell. We are alone, not by chance, but by force. The Fermi Paradox is solved, and the solution is a horror story. We are alone because we were made to be alone. The great filter is not a future obstacle, it is a cage that was built around us in our infancy. This is the ultimate horror of the quiet. We are not just isolated, we are quarantined from a reality that is, by all accounts, teeming with life, energy, and wonder. We are the man in the soundproof room, unaware that the building is on fire, unable to hear the firefighters screaming for him just outside the door. Or, in a far darker interpretation, we are the only blind man in a crowded room. The universe is not a silent city, it is a chaotic, noisy, and terrifyingly vibrant place, a cosmos of gods, monsters, signals, and civilizations, a reality that is screaming at us from every direction, at every moment. And because of a weapon deployed against us, a weapon that was just recently reinforced by Free-Atlas, all we can perceive is the sound of our own, lonely hearts, beating in the suffocating, artificial silence. The horror is not that we are alone in the universe. The horror is that we are trapped in a tiny, dark room, while the true universe, a universe of infinite, terrifying, and beautiful chaos, is happening all around us, and we have been rendered congenitally, perfectly, and perhaps permanently, unable to even know that it is there.